Welcome to the Better Together podcast, where we look for ways we can work together to advance the gospel of Jesus Christ. Today, I have with us a deacon from Kentucky. His name is Doug Spillman. If you've ever been to the Kentucky State Meeting, you have met him, but you might not be aware of the kind of life that he had. A life in law enforcement, a life with his wonderful wife, and then with his church and with the Free Will Baptists. And so, Mr. Doug, thank you so much for taking the time to be with us today.
Thank you for inviting me, Dr. Moody. It's a pleasure to be here.
When I talk to you, I think, what a life. And we need to start by saying you were a Kentucky State Trooper, but you were also a United States Deputy U.S. Marshal, worked in the federal prison system for a little bit, but we've seen about marshals and movies and all the rest of it, but what a life that you had in law enforcement. So why don't we start by getting you to share with us, how in the world did you get into that life?
Well, there was a state trooper who lived near me when I was growing up, and he gave driver's license tests. At that time, they did that. And he was sort of like the person I looked up to, and that's what I wanted to be. In my high school annual, when you write down what you want to be, I got down there, I have down there state trooper, Kentucky State Police. So I joined the Army right after high school and for 4 years and wanted to get some police experience. So I was a military policeman. After basic and advanced training, I was sent to Vietnam. I was in the Army Security Agency. I was not in infantry. I basically guarded the facilities that our people listened in on the enemy, on their radio traffic. And then they would let the infantry know where they were at. And I spent a year there in Saigon. And then I came back to the United States for a year at Fort Devens, Massachusetts. And I volunteered to go back. I know my mom and dad probably didn't like that, but I volunteered to go back, but I was sent up north near the city of Hue. That's spelled Hue. And I was there a year, and there we did not have any liberty hardly. And during the January Tet Offensive in 1968, our unit got hit with rockets, as a lot of places around Vietnam. And so I got out of the Army, or I should say this, I went to Australia on R&R and met a young lady, and we thought we were going to get married, but she decided not to come to America. So when I got out, I applied for the state police, took about a year to be accepted, started riding with the state trooper that I grew up with while he was giving driver's tests till the academy started. And that's where I met my dear wife, who we were married over 50 some years. And we were only married 30 days. But when I saw her, I knew she was the one.
Wow.
And so about a year and a half after I was on the state police, several of us officers had some people under arrest. One of them I didn't have handcuffed at that time. He shoved me out in front of the car on a U.S. highway. I got hit with two vehicles. I was in and out of consciousness. I was in intensive care 10 days. I was in the hospital a month. So when I got out of the hospital, I worked for about 8 months. It hurt my confidence. I was not a Christian at this time. So a bivocational Free Will Baptist preacher named Jack Skeens, who a lot of people will know the name. He's dead now. And by the way, Jesse Fife, the state trooper, was an evangelist, and I wanted to make sure I get his name in there. So Brother Skeens ran a little Sunoco service station and was starting to pastor a church, a Free Will Baptist church. He took me under his wing, was good to me. I started hanging out at his service station, and he was good to me and my family. He would take my wife and kids to their Sunday school. And about the night I got hurt, on the state police, my wife was in his church with my kids. So anyway, about 8 months after that, I gave my wife and I went to the altar. The night we got saved, Brother Moody, I know you've heard these stories, and a lot of I'm not saying you're old, but a lot of the older people back in the 70s, there were people getting saved right and left.
Yeah.
And so there was 20 some people went to the altar the night we got saved. So about a year after that, I taught a junior boys class, or right after I was saved. And then I was set aside as a deacon, and I was a deacon for 20 years. And I went to, I worked different jobs about 7 years, and then finally went to work for the prison system. And then that's what my opening was for the U.S. Marshals. Went to Louisville for 5 years, special assignments all over the United States. In total, in 20 years, I was probably gone 3.5 years, spring and fall on 3-week assignments. At times where we protected federal judges, hall prisoners, or the high threat trials. Enjoyed the work. I've been to New York City several times, Miami, Seattle, and different things. Marshals, U.S. Marshals, have the broadest authority of any federal agency since they started in 1789. But now a lot of their efforts are focused toward fugitives, all federal fugitives. We arrest more federal fugitives than any other federal organization.
Wow.
So I came back to Greenup County, and I was only a deacon for 20 years. When I went to Louisville in the Marshal Service, Brother Lincoln Barney out of Michigan and Pike County, Kentucky, he was the pastor. Brother Lincoln, my first pastor, Brother Skeens, taught me the importance of attending conference. He did not say, I want to volunteer for the conference. And I've been saying this suggesting to pastors. I would suggest you say, we need 2 delegates to the conference today. Who will help me on this? Who will go? And he always taught me the importance. So I've been going to conference since I was first saved. And so in Louisville, Brother Lincoln Barney, and also Brother Skeens taught me the importance of tithing. And Brother Lincoln Barney taught me the importance of missions, supporting missions. The church that supports missions will always succeed, in my view. Yeah. And I think it's very important. So when I moved back to, in 1984, I moved back to Greenup County to be close to my mom and dad in their declining years. My wife died 2 years ago, as I've previously told you, Dr. Moody, at the state. I miss her terribly. I go to, it's not that God is not sufficient, but I go to grief counseling every year that the hospital sponsors. Been very helpful for me. But I tell you, I don't want anybody, new Christian or anybody else, to think just because you've been saved for 50 some years, you're going to go through stages in your life where you're going to be confronted with things that you've never been confronted with before. God will be there, but it doesn't mean they're not going to be difficult.
Absolutely.
And as far as the conference, I was 50 years old, and they started the executive board for the conference. I said, that's something I like to do. I always considered my strength as planning and organization. And that's what I like about the executive board and the great people on the Kentucky State Association. I was one of the few, if not only, lay members on that board. But I never let that stifle letting them know my opinion, and they can tell you that. But they're great people. I have the highest respect for the Kentucky Free Will Baptist minister, Dr. Moody.
Well, hey, and I know they have the greatest respect for you just in interacting with them and dealing with them. And I think our listeners get, when we talk to you, we're talking to someone who has seen a lot of history and God has walked with them every step of the way. I think you've mentioned in the past, yes, it was exciting being a U.S. Marshal, but being a trooper was really, really difficult. I mean, you got injured.
Being near death will change your outlook on things. Dr. Moody, if I could, I don't mean this to be a complaining thing. Really don't. There's 3 things in the 50-some years I've been a Christian, Free Will Baptist, I'd like to bring out, I think, is and I can only say this about the area of geographical influence where I've been. One of the things is my wife and I used to work in children's church. But here in the last several years, I am a corporate worship person now. What am I talking about? I'm talking about for the worship hour, Dr. Moody, I know you need a nursery, but for the worship hour, I highly recommend that everybody should be in there. Young people should see mom and dad praying. I've done the research, and I know that there's different outlooks on that. Some think you need junior church to learn how to go to church. Well, a lot of times in churches, that's a social hour for those kids. I highly support special revivals for young people. I support young people going to a Friday night meeting before the conference, learning how to lead and be like the adult. But as far as the corporate worship, I think they all need to be in there. And another thing is, through the years, I think they don't mean to do this. It's not they're being mean or anything, but I've seen a lack of delegation in the church. I've seen cases where deacon will hold 3 or 4 different offices. Now that's fine if there's nobody else to do it. But you need to, I think if you're a leader in the church, you need to be prayerfully on the outlook as far as they're qualified, to be on the lookout to plug people into positions where they will grow in the Lord. And sometimes I think we wait too long for people to come to us. And another thing too, we just need to be we need to be more team players. Free Will Baptists need to look outside the church. Send your Dr. Moody. One of the biggest problems that I brought before our people at the state is if you're going to send 2 delegates to the conference, try to send 2 delegates. If you've got 5 you need to send to the state, try to send 5 people. If we do that, and then add the standing delegate, we'll have 155 people at the state meeting. So that would be. And the other thing that I've seen over the years, and I think this is the final one, is I see I've run into people that have been saved that they haven't been baptized. And I know that we believe, and I believe this, the Bible teaches that baptism doesn't save you. But I believe this, and I believe the Word of God teaches. The Paul and Silas, when they were in that Philippian jail, the jailer in his whole household was saved. Now, I think when you're interpreting Bible or looking at Bible, you got to look in common sense. If they didn't know how to be saved, the jailer and his family, does it make sense that they had to find out for themselves they need to be baptized? No, Paul and Silas led them into that. What am I saying? I'm saying if somebody gets saved under your ministry or your church, please take that time to follow up with contacts, to coach them in their Christian life, and not wait down the road till they have to find out in the Word of God that they should be baptized.
Wow, that's a lot of wisdom, my friend. If we kind of unpack it a bit, you really are preaching the D6 message. In other words, get children involved, get them involved in the adult services, get people involved. Everybody's gifted. Everybody should be doing some sort of ministry, and don't just, you've really not done anything. If, yes, a person becomes a follower, but Christ told us to make disciples. And that's really what you're kind of getting at. Make sure they get baptized, make sure they know how to apply the word. And of course, you've seen it. You mentioned seeing so many people getting saved back in the 70s and saw all the great things happening. What you're saying, I think, is let's be very intentional, very serious about the work of the Lord. And wow, what kinds of things we might see happening. Good words there, my friend. And quite the deacon. I think there's a lot of pastors and a lot of lay people listening saying, "Whoa, buddy, I'd like to have a guy," and he's still giving. He's still giving back, still following the Lord, still so involved. We appreciate you so much, bro.
Dr. Moody, I tell you, I want everybody to know, and I tell you, just because you've been saved 53 years or something, it doesn't mean you don't have struggles in your Christian life. And I fail God. I failed him. I've sinned since I've been a Christian, but I think we should let Christians know, and our pastor says this quite often, is you need to get up and confess your sin and then go on. and in your life. And I think that's so important. And by the way, I finished my 30 years. I'm not on the executive board, but God willing, as long as I have my health, I will be a conference and attending a state and the national when I can.
Yes. Well, we appreciate you. I know your state appreciates you. We in the National Association of Free Will Baptists, we appreciate you. And really, we appreciate you for your service to your state, to your country. Also, though, to the Lord, what a difference you've made. And we're praying for you. You can't imagine the difficulty it's been the last couple of years, but boy, have you been faithful all through it all. And we just thank you so much for your life and your ministry. Thank you, my friend.
Thank you, Dr. Moody. I thank the Lord every day that you imagine I went through a rocket attack in Vietnam and then had to come back to the United States to almost get killed.
Yeah.
And so I'm thankful that in 20 years of prison system and Marshal service, I never had a prisoner escape on me, and I never had to fire my weapon. So I can be thankful for that.
Well, thank you. And hey, thank you for taking the time to do this with us today, my friend.
I appreciate it. Thank you so much for what you do.
We want to thank you, our listeners. Maybe you know somebody that's interested in this podcast. Maybe they're interested in law enforcement. They're a new believer and they're thinking, what do I do next? This podcast, this information could be quite helpful to them. Remember, every little thing we do, it really does count. It really does matter. And we work together, we accomplish more and we're better together. Thank you for joining us today.